Yes, we have our guest in the studio already, and today we're talking about artificial intelligence. And our guest today on the show is Olusola Amusan. He is a software engineer, project manager, and a consultant. You're welcome, Olusola Amusan.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so we'll delve straight into what artificial intelligence is. We would not have to say what it is. We have a professional in the house already.
Exactly.
So let's start with what artificial intelligence is all about.
Yeah, well, I mean, the term artificial intelligence is a buzz word in today's world, particularly in 2019, and understandably so. Basically, it's the ability of a computer to be able to mimic human intelligence. So, and that's why it's called artificial intelligence. So first, we admit that our species, as humans, Homo sapiens, we're like the most intelligent of all the other species, even though people think there are other civilizations elsewhere, but that's not today's topic. So AI, for short, is basically the ability of a machine or a computer to mimic human intelligence. So we can read as humans, so you're making a computer read. We can, we can speak, all the things we can do as humans. Computer programmers are helping computers or machines to be able to do them, to save us time, to ensure that we can do all the important stuff and leave the boring stuff to machines to do for us, and also to be able to push the edge of our civilization and say what else is possible, and that's what the concept of artificial intelligence is.
Okay, now you mentioned that it is a buzz. When did this buzz start in Nigeria? Because I know other countries are ahead of us in terms of artificial intelligence. When did it start in Nigeria?
Well, I mean, the last few years, a lot of people, let me say that for every single thing you see that becomes a buzzword, first, there are a few early adopters. Okay. So in the wake of the last decade, there are people in universities across Nigeria who have been traveling for their programs abroad, writing theses about AI and all of things like that. But many people didn't know about it. But in today's world, because you now see some of these applications of AI in everyday service, in banking, in all of this. So a lot more people are warming up to it. So I'd say in the last 3-4 years, there's a lot more energy towards artificial intelligence. But in the wake of the decade, a lot of people who are in the academia already started paying attention to it. I mean, I have a friend who has a PhD specializing in artificial intelligence from a Nigerian university. And that's like 4 or 5 years to do, right? So he had a lecturer or a teacher who is a Nigerian teacher. So it's not so new. It's been around for some time. But those applications are getting even more popular and the use cases are getting into our space very well. And as you know, once Nigerians can afford something, like you'd see it everywhere. So very soon now, you probably see self-driving cars soon. Don't be surprised because once Nigerians can afford it, then it's going to be available.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's going to be a few challenges as well. Potholes,
and we will get there.
Poor navigation, but we will get there.
Yes.
Okay, I'm aware that China is top on the list. China, United States, we have Germany,
Canada
Japan.
as well.
Canada,
exactly, they're doing so well using AI. Where do you think Nigeria stands? Because we're used to doing things for ourselves. And we see that when something else comes up, we feel that, okay, something is trying to take our jobs.
And they trust.
Exactly. So where do you think Nigeria stands in the place of AI?
Yeah, not just Nigeria, but the whole of sub-Saharan Africa. Like, we're still very late adopters in so many ways. First, I would say that we are consumers, not producers. We like to wait for what is the next in thing we can use, not what's the next in thing we can produce. So Canada is leading. Canada, China, United States, many of the first world countries are driving massively on AI research and how they can apply it to industry, and all that. But because we have not even embraced automation, which is another side of things, like general automation. So if you get to an automobile assembly plant now, in most developed countries, there are only a few people working. Why? Because robotic arms are already putting all the things together. That's automation. We are still far behind. We don't even, except for a number of, I think 1 or 2 local brand manufacturers for cars, we don't have automation is not pushed the way it should be here. So we've not even gotten to the point where we would say, okay, now We want to program those robots to be able to do those things by themselves, to be able to think, to be able to do what we call recursive learning, and all of those other critical things. So I would say that as Nigerians, humans, they're actually amazing Nigerians all across the world who are driving these conversations in the top companies around the world. Okay. But as a country, we don't even have an AI strategy. We don't have an AI framework. There is no plan specifically to ensure that this is when exactly we are going to be teaching artificial intelligence at an ubiquitous level, at a level where it's generally available in all our universities. Or this is our strategy for how to ensure it doesn't take all our jobs away. That's how to transition from, the effects of automation and the future of work and what we need to do about it. Many countries that we just mentioned, like Canada and the United States, are drawing up plans to make sure that their young people are embracing what we call STEM fields, computing, so that they can get ready for the future of work. Unlike Nigeria, we are still focusing on some of the most mundane, some of the most basic things. We have an election coming. We're still trying to even understand, whether violence is good or not. So we are really, really way behind. But there are a few outliers within our system as well who are making a massive commitment to this. I've met a few friends the past year. I started a venture myself that basically focuses on helping young Nigerians and young Africans appreciate the value of data science and artificial intelligence, and I have seen some of the brightest minds on this continent coming out from Nigeria.
From Nigeria. Do you think that it should be included in one of the courses that we go to study in university?
Come on, definitely. I would advocate for it 100%. And I would say there should actually even be incentives, like for deciding to study artificial intelligence. I think the government of Nigeria, of Lagos State, should make a commitment and say, look, for all the students who are accepted into the Artificial Intelligence Department of Soso University, who have qualified by merits and who are smart enough to be able to pursue it, they should get XYZ, and this same government should also lay down some framework to say, look, for every single person who graduates, with an artificial intelligence degree or bachelor's, or even a computer science degree focusing on machine learning and artificial intelligence, there should be some form of arrangement to make sure that they're linked up and connected with top jobs around the world, whether locally or internationally.
Okay. Right, so if I'm correct, AI is in categories. Can you tell us those categories of AI?
Yeah, so there are a number of applications of AI. The most popular people like to talk about is machine learning. And a lot of people can't even decipher the difference between machine learning and artificial intelligence. So because artificial intelligence is the broader field and machine learning is just really a field of being able to, sort of like train models, machine learning models, to be able to perform tasks that humans would otherwise, be the ones performing. There are other fields like computer vision, where basically you're trying to help computers to be able to identify images, and this is based on quite a number of principles. One of the popular principles of computer vision is neural networks. So you place the camera, you have trained the software model to be able to tell that if you see an object that looks like this, refer it to several characters or attributes that we have set for this object. So if it has a head and it has two ears, it's a mammal, and it most likely can be a human, a dog, or a goat. Then if it's walking on four legs, there's a chance that it's not a human anymore, right? So you continue to train the AI in that manner, and soon enough, it can even tell a Chihuahua from a Lhasa, or a bull terrier, or from a German Shepherd, right? So that's computer vision. There is natural language processing, which is part of it is text to speech. Part of it is being able to understand natural languages. So you're speaking to
like Siri?
A bot. Well, like Siri, right? Okay. You speak to a bot, like Cortana. Cortana, for example, when you speak to it on your Windows computer, essentially it can talk back at you, and it can understand what you're saying. Now, part of the challenges, and which is what I'm trying to advocate for in sub-Saharan Africa, is how many African languages are actually made available for those AI to be able to process. And that will only happen when you have Nigerians running their thesis, running their programs, running their bachelors, and building programs that will focus on Nigerian languages. You know, so even if someone who has left Nigeria for 30 years, or who is a second-generation immigrant in the US, is now an AI engineer working in a top company, and he has to program Yoruba into the kind of Yoruba is going to definitely speak is different from the guy who is in Ibadan or your state. So we need to get more people who are internal here and who care about some of these things so that our culture can be integrated into the advances that are happening in technology. There are some image recognition software that find it difficult to recognize people. Because they have tribal marks or because they have a kind of look. Yeah, so because essentially the people that they're using as black people are people who've left the continent 100 years earlier. So the image recognition algorithm might not be as accurate as you'd expect it to be. Oh, okay. You know, so those are a number of fields. You know, I mentioned machine learning, which then leads to computer vision, natural language processing, and there are quite a number of other applications like conversational AI. So you see those banks who are doing chatbots now, so that you don't need, you don't need to talk to a teller or a customer service official before you get anything done.
Now, I think. Well, I'm seeing more of problems than it's been more than its advantages, because when you look at it, you're talking about now, you just an example where you're probably talking to a computer that'll be helping you do your customer service, where you're supposed to employ someone, you know. So I feel that the disadvantages are more than the advantages, because in Nigeria we already have the issue of unemployment, and then we are trying so hard. I know that the government is trying so hard, you know, to solve that problem. But then we are advocating for artificial intelligence that will come and take the jobs that we are even trying, you know. So how, you know? So
if we look at it at the surface level, you will be right. But if we go deeper, then it will be.
Do we have to go deep?
Yeah, we have to. We have to. Let me explain what I mean. Okay. What I mean is, if you take a look at the issue on the surface level, you would think that AI would take away all our jobs. But the question really is, let me give you an example. People argue that if you create an automatic gate that can open by itself, you would displace a gate man. Right? That's what they argue to do. But what we say is that the greatest application of human potential, to just be at a gate and open it and close it? No. So when 2 gate men lose their jobs because of that, there are 6 to 10 more new jobs created as to who can make a gate that will open, who can program the gate to open, who can ensure that the gate is not hacked by someone else when there is an emergency, who can make sure that, you know, the actual mechanics of the gate is correct. So it creates more jobs. So when you think about it, as you feel that people are losing jobs, there's several other jobs being created. So smart governments make a decision to prepare their people for what the next level of things are. I'm going to give this last example, and the example is about, you know, if you have you know, the time when horses were the in thing. People went to work with their horses and donkeys and carts, right? And then cars came. All the people who had horses and who had, you know, the ranches, they lost their jobs, essentially. But there were many more auto mechanics jobs that were created. So Gartner, which is a global research company, says that 2.3 million new data science and AI jobs will open up by 2021. The World Economic Forum says that by 2025, 63 million new jobs would have been added over all the jobs that have been taken by AI. My question is, how is Nigeria getting ready for this move? Because whether we like it or not, the change is here.
Those jobs that are going to be supposedly created will be for those who know the technology know-how.
Exactly.
So that's know-how, but those that do not know are left behind.
See, change is the only constant thing. And evolution, if you understand the theory of evolution, for people who didn't evolve, if you want to evolve to the next level, there are things you need to do. It's called survival instinct, right? And if you do not perform at that level, what happens to you? You're completely edged out. So you are saying it as if we have a choice. We don't really have a choice. What we must realize is that we need to change our focus in terms of how we are training people, how we're getting people skilled up, okay? I mean, the first artificial intelligence newscaster came live in China 3 months ago.
3 months ago.
Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing.
Are you not scared for your jobs now?
I'm really scared.
But I mean,
when I saw the news,
it would take a long time for us to be able to program AI to do what we call recursive learning at a very high level, to be able to answer and ask questions intelligently the way you are. If it's about reading texts, which is news, to viewers, that's easy. But if it's about knowing the next question to ask me based on my body language or how I expressed it, we're going to take a long time. And it might not be so long, maybe a few decades, and we'll be there, but you don't need to worry. At least for the next 10 years, you still have a job, right?
After 10 years, what happened?
Well, you need to begin to think about, because the world is... See, let me give you a very interesting statistics.
Okay.
All the data in the world right now, 80% of all the data in the world was created in the last 5 years. Isn't that scary? That is so scary. That's like, we don't even know what can happen like in the next 10 years.
10 years.
Because there wasn't Snapchat, there wasn't Instagram, there wasn't Twitter in the last 10 years. So all the pictures, all the videos, the number of people who now have smartphones and all of this.
Exactly.
So really, change used to happen every 18 months before. Now it happens like so quickly, and we have to get ready for it. We can't be sympathetic. We can't pity ourselves and say, oh, what are we going to do now? Oh, jobs are going to be taken away. Oh, our people will have to go back to school.
I still have more to say on that point, but we need to go on a break. Yeah. And yes, be sure to join us. We are live on Facebook, so please join us just in case, you have a friend and can't sit at home and watch. Please use your phones and watch us live on Facebook. This is still Tea or Coffee. We're talking about artificial intelligence. We'll be right back. Stay glued.
La télévision High Impact est sur la chaîne Utelsat. Prenez des mesures suivantes pour regarder la télévision High Impact. Première étape, obtenez une antenne parabolique avec une dimension de 90 cm ou 100 cm. Deuxième étape, orientez votre antenne parabolique vers Utelsat au degré 7 à l'ouest, maintenant la même position que celle des chaînes MBC. Troisième étape, faites une exploration totale de toutes les chaînes à l'aide d'un faisceau électronique. Quatrième étape, la télévision High Impact est sur la fréquence 11033 et ailleurs pour symbole 4999 ou 5000. Vous êtes maintenant prêt à regarder la télévision High Impact vers Utelsat. Il n'y a pas d'un abonnement mensuel. La télévision High Impact, vous avez de la chance.
Preposterous, preposterous, preposterous.
Welcome back to Tea or Coffee, and thank you for staying tuned. We're still talking about artificial intelligence, and we have a professional in the house. We've been having a very interesting conversation. And of course, don't forget that you can join us on Facebook Live at High Impact TV to, of course, drop your comments and your contributions. Yeah, so before we went on the break, we were talking about artificial intelligence.
Yes.
And during the break, we're also talking about how that this artificial intelligence, they are coming to take our jobs.
Yes.
So what is the way forward?
We must accept that the future of work has come upon us.
Okay.
And it's creeping in very gradually for people who live in sub-Saharan Africa. For those who are in the US and Canada and some other places, it's already on them. For us, we, by virtue of our non-responsiveness to many other things, it's going to creep in on us gradually. But very quickly, business people will begin to realize that it is better to hire a software that will not go on vacation, a software that will not go on maternity leave, a software that will not ask for breaks. So unfortunately, labor laws have to kick in to say, look, how do we gradually, so that we don't throw a whole bunch of people on the streets, how do we retrain our people to find out what the next level of their work should be, so that they can understand computer science and AI enough to be able to be the ones who will teach the machine. Because don't forget, AI is mimicking human intelligence. So for you now, let's say you're this brilliant, excellent producer that you are, a presenter that you are, and there is something so unique about the way you do the work you do, and we want to replace you with an AI. You will take like the rest of your career, essentially, you know, modeling. So a computer programmer would try to model all the attributes of what you do, and that would take almost, you know, an entire career to be able to do. And as you continue to evolve in your intelligence as well, you can be sipping pina colada somewhere on some, you know, beach, then you are still presenting. I mean, isn't that interesting? So that is it. but what we need to realize is that the same way you've talked about Cortana, you've talked about all of this, you know, conversational AI that can basically speak to you.
Yes.
What you don't realize is that hundreds, thousands, if possible, of engineers are working on this. So in the US last year, 2.8 million jobs were posted online, and only 48% of them were filled. These are tech jobs. There is a deficit already, and that deficit is what is going to mop up those people you're talking about who are going to be out of jobs. The question is, for our geography, will the people who are left out of jobs, would they have the blessing of a government who is ready, or of an academia that is ready to change so that they can be prepared for the new world of work? For those who are already in mid-career, alternative education, how quickly can they adapt? How quickly can they go online and learn about how now financial analysts, for example, will be replaced by robo-advisors, and what they need to do to stand the edge above that?
Because I know I saw, there's a school, I wouldn't want to mention the school in Germany. They have free scholarship, not even scholarship, they're paying for tuition, everything from the beginning of the career to the end of the career. It has to do with artificial intelligence, computer science. So is it that schools in maybe developed countries are trying to imbibe artificial intelligence into their system?
Yeah, and a few universities around here too, perhaps. I probably won't want to mention, but I know there are a few universities here who are also working so hard. They are changing their faculty. They are adding up more, you know, things into their curriculum that have to do with this. And that is what is making their graduates different from, like, the most. But out of the 148 universities or tertiary institutions we have here, you know, I'm not sure we have up to 14 of them who now currently have an artificial intelligence faculty or department. You know, there is a general, you know, mandate that the Nigerian Computer Society gave to all departments that are running computer science to add up quite a few things to their curriculum, and many of them are adapting to that. But we need to do that as an act of law. There has to be some form of legislative, you know, framework on how Nigeria is responding to artificial intelligence and the world of work, the future, new world of work, the future of work. So, for example, financial analysts will be replaced by analytical AI that can basically, you know, pack historical data. If you're a financial analyst right now, you can't analyze 30 years of data in 3 hours, but the computer can do that.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's sorry to interrupt you. Talking about analytical AI, when we went on the break, we're talking about types of AI. Now, you've mentioned analytical AI. I'd like you to expatiate on it, and of course, talk about the humanized AI.
Yeah. So, well, analytical AI basically, as the word is, analyzes a whole lot of data, and that's why data science is important to AI, because there's a lot of data to now analyze. We live in a world where by the year, I think 2050, there's going to be maybe 10,000 zettabytes of data. That's like jargon for those who are measuring the size of data that we would have in the world. But the point is, analytical AI basically looks at historical data or present data, and then as a model to be able to tell how that is going to bring out inferences about decisions that business leaders must make for them to move to the next level. For example, if you are in the fast-moving commodity goods, market, you have vast amount of data about how products have sold in the past year, what is happening in the market. You can basically be able to use that data, pass it through an AI algorithm to be able to tell what is happening, visualize what is happening, and maybe even go on to another part of it, which is predictive AI, to be able to tell what will happen over the next 10 years based on that historical data. Humanized AI, on the other hand, are the kind of AI that are focused on trying to mimic human intelligence, like text-to-speech, or who are trying to process natural languages, or trying to support people as if they are humans, and reason like us. And these two fields are growing really fast and are becoming more applicable across several fields.
Let me take you back to where you talked about change. Now, it's not a fact that yes, change is a constant thing, and we have to, be prepared for when a particular change is going to take place.
That's right.
Yes. Now, when we went on break, I was talking to you about some movies that have already shown us about
the future is like.
Yes. And this particular movie.
What they think the future is like.
Okay. Yeah. So this particular movie talks about inventing or creating robots, and then at some point, those robots decided to wipe off humanity
and they take
over. That's what I'm saying. We don't have to let it get to that point. Do you understand? So if we now embrace it as Nigerians, and then peradventure we say, okay, let us make robots, that can also, be intelligent just like humans and mimic human intelligence, and they now plan to take over, what are we going to do
then? Take over humanity.
Well, there are a number of ways to respond to it. The first thing is there's always a giant button to press and switch off everything. That's number one. Okay. Scientists have told us to always remember that as humans, we can unplug. And because we can unplug, we're in charge. That's number one. Number two, we have the chance and the opportunity to build our ethics as a society into AI at this time. When it's still in the early stages, we can build the values of humanity. Right now, can't one human decide to wipe off the rest of the world? Yes, one woman can.
But it won't succeed.
But it won't succeed, right? So the same way. So our species is so closely knitted. We want to continue to inhabit this planet and all of that. We're even trying to colonize other planets, right?
Yeah.
Build colonies elsewhere. So the way we try to look at it is that if we have the chance now, which is what we have, to build our ethics, our values into AI, there is no chance that we'll end up like what you see in Terminator or any of those other sci-fi movies, And the key thing you must always remember is that there is a way to unplug every single thing that you've done. But the advantages outweigh the disadvantages, and we can't run away from that. I mean, think about how our city is organized today. There's so much traffic. Imagine if there was an AI to basically tell you the best routes to pass before you get to work. If there was an AI, if self-driving cars around Lagos could organize themselves. Humans like to pass through, everybody wants to use Third Mainland Bridge. So we get into that funnel. What about if self-driving cars can basically give us schedules of the best route to move, when to go? Exponential technologies like virtual reality will help us to transcend the limits and nuisance of space and time, to be able to go into our offices by just being in our rooms, attend meetings by not moving an inch, and all of those things are very crucial. And there are the demerits of this as well. I mean, people will say, now we won't exercise anymore because robots will watch the floors, we cook our food, we do all of that. And then if you have been reading about ending diseases in our lifetime, you would see that there are other research works going on as well to be able to push the edge of all of those things. So our values must remain as humans. We must exercise. We must, remember that no software or no AI is supposed to be essentially replacing humans. So, for example, in medicine, we're not looking for robots to replace doctors. We're asking that robots should assist doctors to get their work done. There are actually several fields like that where we're certain that AI is not going to totally take away their jobs, but anything that is repetitive, anything that is mundane, anything that is, boring, we want to make sure that AI can do that for us so that we can do more important things with our lives, like finding new spaces to go to and finding out whether Mars actually has some chance for us and ensuring that in our lifetime we can end diseases.
That could work. I not like I totally agree
Both
with
of
you.
you were like, that could work.
Because, when you mentioned traffic, I totally agree. And then when you talked about, other things.
Think about any difficult thing you do today.
I know, yes, I'm still waiting for us to develop that flying car. And I want the first person I want to be from Nigeria.
Oh, it's already, unfortunately, you're late now because...
I know people have been trying it, but we will have it and someone in Nigeria is going
awesome.
But I know technology is advancing over time. And you mentioned that there are, demerits, there are disadvantages of, we getting to that point. So I want you to tell me what the disadvantages are.
Yeah, so a lot of people have argued about how technology is taking away our human connectedness, how connected we are to each other. When you go to a restaurant in the 1980s, you see people talking. Connecting. Yes. When you see a dinner table in the late 90s, you will see people having conversations. I learned most of the Yoruba anecdotes I know today just sitting with my father, my mom, and everybody and just chatting. But all that doesn't happen today. When people are together, you're eating and you're pressing your phones, you're all of that. So people have argued that we're no longer connected. People have also argued that there's a lot of obesity, there's a lot of sedentary related diseases that are happening to people because they just sit in their cars, they don't walk around, they don't do all that, but the merits outweigh the demerits. And we must keep asking ourselves, really, what can we do to mitigate those disadvantages? There's also the fear of bad AI, what we call bad AI. So people who have malicious intentions can go on and build software that can hack, our systems. The wars for today or for tomorrow are not wars with guns and bombs anymore. They're cyber attacks. There are breaches in firewalls, breaches in data, emails exposed, personal data exposed, and all of that. And these are all demerits of the new world that we're going into. But we must also set up another army, and this is not an army with guns now, an army of other young people who will be ensuring that they can detect these vulnerabilities really early and begin to build the kind of technologies that would help us to overcome it. What is important to know is that it's not the kind of thing we can say, oh, no, don't come. When cars came, they came. Like, we couldn't do anything about it, So it's evolution for our species, and we must accept it and find ways to live with it in a way that we can still, enjoy our existence and live valuably.
Okay, so you did mention bad AI. We were having a conversation before the show, and we're talking about strong and weak AI.
Yes.
I'd like you to shed more light on strong and weak AI.
So people categorize AI into all kinds of things. They say, in fact, there's a professor, I don't remember his name right now, who is one of the progenitors of AI from the 1980s, but he believes that we're not doing AI yet. He believes that all of the things we're doing right now is still weak AI because it's just fast computing. That we need to get to the point where an AI can think for itself, an AI can do the things that humans do. So not just, I've told this AI to do this. People categorize things as weak AI when the AI still depends on the information the human gives to it. It is believed that a new life form, that AI should be a new life form, and that's what some people call strong AI. It can also be categorized in this direction as well. If the layers, if you associate it with neural networks that I talked about the other time, if the layers in the number of layers in the neural network determines how strong the computer vision AI is. So if you build a computer vision AI that can recognize that this is a dog, but cannot recognize the breed of the dog based on its features, you can say the other one is weak and the later is strong. Because it has multiple layers, and so because of that, it's more accurate in its detection. So an AI can find out that this is a bottle, but another AI can say, no, this is a Coca-Cola bottle, because it's
calling out brand names.
All right, so we're talking about AI, and there's something also called machine learning.
Yes.
It's kind of confusing, because I get confused when you talk about AI and it still has to do with machine. So what's the difference between AI and machine learning?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier that machine learning is a branch of AI that basically focuses on training machine learning models, which is ensuring that you can train models to be able to take certain action. So it's a type of AI where you use repetitive, learning models to be able to get a machine to get the gist, in quotes, about what you're trying to pass across. So it's a branch of AI. Understand that AI is the larger construct, and then machine learning is a branch of AI where you're trying to use a certain level of metrics and attributes to be able to get a model to learn, and the longer you train it, the more accurate it becomes.
Okay. All right, so we have a question from someone right now on Facebook, and the person is asking how you can get into, because you're already into artificial intelligence, how can she get into artificial intelligence?
How can you tap
into? So, there are a variety of ways that you can get started. First, you must be interested, and which is already why you're asking that question. I would ask that you go online. I can give you a website to go to that actually helps. Go to covenworks.com, COVEN works.com, and then find where Coven Labs is right there. You can find out there are workshops in class and online sessions in Lagos and a number of other places. You can simply also do a random search online with a search engine and say, what is artificial intelligence, and watch a number of videos. You need a personal computer, so you should know that that's part of your tool that you need. It's like becoming a mechanic and not having a toolbox, right? So you need a personal computer where you can practice some of these principles. Again, the website is covenworks.com.
Okay, so you have a question. So you can just do everything, get everything done just online?
Yeah, so I would say that that's the beginning. You can start online, start building a few applications and all of that. You might want to formalize your education by furthering your pursuit by taking either a computer science degree with a specialization in AI, or finding out which schools around the world actually offer an artificial intelligence degree or specialization.
And remind me to send you your bill for calling that.
Send me my invoice, actually.
I'm telling you. Okay, we have a question on Facebook, and Oluwatobi is saying that, how would you distinguish between AI, as artificial intelligence, and business intelligence?
Okay, so business intelligence is applying data science and AI to business data, right? So it is not, you can't particularly call it a field of AI, but AI is, there's some artificial intelligence tools that have been created to help you do business intelligence. You can actually do business intelligence as a human. You don't need AI to do business intelligence. But if you want to do accurate, deep business intelligence, you might want to employ data science principles and AI principles. Let me give you an example. Before AI came, you can basically look at, what did I sell 10 years ago? What did I sell 9 years ago? What did I sell 8 years ago? And come back to this and say, okay, if I had this together, I can get the mean or the average of what I've done to be able to determine my average sales for the next few years, isn't it? So you're using business data to generate insights to be able to move forward. Now today, because the data is so much, and if you work in a big company or you are in an industry that requires a lot of data to be analyzed, you want to use data science principles or AI tools to do that business intelligence.
So which would you advise to be learned first? Is it business intelligence or just straight
Well, it totally depends. If you want to learn about how to build artificial intelligence, you would learn to be a computer programmer, what they call a software engineer. So in that pathway, I always encourage the youngest people to do that because it's like learning a new language and they need to start early enough. For people who are mid-career, because that's where the world is going into, I would say you should focus on business intelligence, BI. Particularly if you don't want to go all over again to start to learn how to code. Because many of the business intelligence tools are drag and drop, and then essentially you don't need to learn how to code to be able to do that. But if you want to learn AI itself, if you want to learn the rudiments of AI by just watching some videos, being able to answer some questions, you don't need to learn how to code as well. But if you want to build any type of AI, you would need to learn computer programming.
Okay, so I was very curious as to why you were so passionate about artificial intelligence. So I had to have a sneak peek into your social media posts.
Yeah.
And I came across you said AI could double economic growth rates by 2035 and boost labor productivity by 40%. Why?
Well, the reason is really simple.
Okay.
If we can remove all the things that are barriers today to economic growth, then we can definitely multiply our impact. So think about like distribution chains, think about supply chain, think about how long it takes for us to find out whether our goods have arrived and all of that. All of that can be automated and it can boost our growth. Also think about our job market. Imagine if we can say out of the $12 billion that is spent on outsourcing globally, Nigeria takes another $4 billion into its economy, and the youth are the ones sharing this through outsourcing, global outsourcing. Imagine that. Then our economy would grow.
Yeah.
These young people would pay taxes, and these taxes hopefully will be judiciously used to be able to make our country better. We can build our cities, and we can do all the beautiful things we want to do. We can even help other countries as well. So it's a symposium discussion on the impact of AI on economic growth. In terms of productivity, there is a report by Gartner that 70% of organizations around the world will require assistive AI to increase the productivity of their employees by the year 2021. 70% of organizations. And that's what you're already seeing in the banks. They're like, you know what, instead of wasting this guy's time answering questions from a 14-year-old who has just gotten access to a phone or a 19-year-old who wants to know how to open an account, why don't we create a chatbot that can basically help them to do this? So they're trying to augment productivity of their employees, and hopefully they will transit those people who used to answer those mundane questions, they will transit them into doing more important things rather than letting them go, because that's what they're supposed to do.
I'm also aware that the banks are trying to set up machines for you to be able to pay in money and just get money instead of going to the bank and wasting your whole time and all. So basically, I would like to what is your advice, young people who want to get into AI?
In 30 seconds.
Yeah, I would like to say that first you need to be very curious. You need to be very curious. You need to benchmark yourself against global standards. Forget about what's going on in Nigeria in terms of like the limitations. There's no power. It's difficult to forget about it, but try to find power where you can. Find internet access in the way you can. Travel by all means. I'm not saying immigrate. I'm saying travel for the purpose of exposure. And of course, learn, read, practice.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking our time.
My pleasure. It's been lovely chatting with you.
Of course, it has been an amazing discussion. We've been talking to Olusola Amusan. I just love that.
That's fantastic. You've done well.
Okay, yes, and he was talking about artificial intelligence. And of course, thank you for your questions on Facebook. Thank you for joining us on Facebook Live. Thank you for your comments on our Instagram page, on our Facebook. And of course, if you are just joining us, please, you are late. But the good thing is you can catch up on this episode on our YouTube channel. That's at High Impact TV. Yes, and do not forget to follow us on all our social media platforms at High Impact TV, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on LinkedIn. Yes, my name is Mudupe Jacob.
And I am God's Time David. Till tomorrow, take care of yourself and each other. Bye-bye.
Bye.